College football and NFL trends. You've got free picks, news and notes, and a whole lot more for the Saturday portfolio. Brought to you by OffshoreInsiders.com and Joe Duffy's Picks. We are on a 4-1 bowl run. The only loser saw a game go under despite 51 points in the first half. Actually had 4 straight football sides, all in the bowls. 179 and 121 in football since the preseason. What an incredible year it has been. 2 college football wise guy plays for Saturday. You've got an NFL side as well, and it's all at OffshoreInsiders.com. Now, some news and notes. The famed tailgate party, and we're going to have trends on these games coming up. The Colts and the Ravens. The Ravens technically are the first team out of the playoffs on a tiebreaker, but essentially it's a must-win game for them. Motivation is they need to win the remaining 2 games. 2 worst offenses in the league in terms of yards per play. The Colts getting a league worst, 4.6. The Ravens not much better at 4.7. However, when both teams are averaging 4.7 or fewer yards per play in game 12 or later, it goes over 28 and 15 since 1999. Rough year for the Colts, 13 starters on the injured reserve, not to the least, of course, which is Andrew Luck. Now, from a handicapping standpoint, look for the Colts to hand the ball often to Frank Gore. He needs 207 yards in their final 2 games to be only the 5th guy with 1,000 yards in 10 different seasons, and look for them to go for that. Very modest consensus on Baltimore, well below the normal for favorites. And we do use offshore, Las Vegas, and outlaw sources. Vikings and the Packers. For the Packers, leading receiver Davante Adams is out, 74 catches, 10 touchdowns. Keep in mind, guys, as you know, Aaron Rodgers is going to be held out for the rest of the year for the Packers. They're a superstar receiver. Case Keenum's completed 67.9% of his passes, second in the NFL to Drew Brees. With McKinnon and Latavius Murray, they fill the void left by Dalvin Cook. They are the 4th highest running total of all running backs in 2017, so they are certainly running the ball well. Vikings tied for league best 10-4 against the spread margin, though the spread record 10-4, but the spread margin they've gone over. They've covered by an average of 5 points per game, as a modest 5th in the league. Some of you know that as the sweat barometer. Packers are the only team in the NFL with 10 overs this season, though shockingly, they've only gone over by an average of 0.8 points per game. So when they've gone over, they've barely gone over. When they go under fairly significantly. Brett Hundley with 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now you might say he's kind of hot, but remember that includes 3 touchdowns and no interceptions to the Browns. First time that Hundley will be facing an opponent for the second time. Usually benefits the defense, but we report, you decide, but most experts will say that will benefit the defense. Very small consensus play on Minnesota, substantially less than you normally get for road favorites. So a very small consensus. Again, offshore, outlaw, and Las Vegas. College football, Texas Tech in South Florida. And as you can see, South Florida is laying 3. Now, the AAC Conference, 3-11 in the games that are expected to be very close, within 4.5 points of pick. So that would benefit Texas Tech. USF was considered the potential fly-in-the-ointment team. That non-Power 5 team that could run the table and make things interesting when it came to the selection committee. But, of course, that didn't happen. They wound up losing twice. They're actually the number 3 seed in the conference. South Florida, 2nd in the country at 85.4 offensive snaps per game. We do like to say that handicapping totals is a lot more about pace. Well, we say it because it's true. A lot more about pace than it is offensive or defensive competence. Teams with exactly 2 losses, and the second loss was to close out the regular season, are actually 18-1 straight up and 17-1 against the spread. Now, that would include your conference championship games as well. But the pre-bowls to close out the regular season or the conference championship game, and that would apply to USF. Now, still, as a non-Power 5 team, will USF, despite the disappointing year, have a chip on their shoulder against a Power 5 team? Charlie Strong knows Texas Tech. He beat them 2 of the last 3 years. Remember, he was the coach at Texas. He's now the coach at USF. USF does have a little bit of a regional advantage. They travel 438 miles to 866 for T-Tech. Counterintuitive line. Teams with 4 or more losses than their opponent has, yet getting at least a field goal in the bowls, or not getting, I should say, not getting at least a field goal. The records would indicate that South Florida should be a monster favorite in this game, but they're not, is essentially what we're saying. It's very rare, but the underdog in this situation, I'm sorry, the team with the much worse record in this situation is a perfect 2-0. And if you lower that to 3 more losses, but not getting at least more than a field goal, it's 15-4. So that would favor Texas Tech. Solid consensus play on Central Florida, on South Florida, that is. But the counterintuitive angle is so consistent with so many sports that we win with, plus USF still likely in a consolation bowl, all things considered, despite the fact they can kind of play the non-power conference card. Now, Texas Tech is our free play from offshoreinsiders.com. How about Army and San Diego State? Mountain West favorites of 7 or less have gone under 21-4 in the bowls. San Diego State, led by Rashard Penny, the top rusher in the nation, gets 2,027 yards rushing. Army, the top rushing team, averaging 368.1 passing yards per game, 29.6 rushing yards per game. This total dropped 4 points from the opener of 50. San Diego State's traveling 1,151 miles. Army, 1,415. Solid consensus from our sources on San Diego State. Appalachian State and Toledo. App State traveling 529 miles. Toledo, 798. Rematch of the Camellia Bowl won last year by Appalachian State, 31-28. Toledo 4-2 straight up to bowl-bound foes. App State only played 4, splitting them. Modest consensus play on Toledo, but well below the normal for chalk. This did open at 8, so it did cross the key number of 7. This game opened up at 8. Now let's get to your trends. All records are against the spread. Please give us a like if you like this information. Share it, comment, embed, retweet. However you can get us publicity, we appreciate it. It tells us you want us to give you more free information. The best handicappers and the best vetted sportsbooks at offshoreinsiders.com. As we said, all records are against the spread. The Colts and the Ravens. Colts are 5-1 following a double-digit home loss, but they've dropped 4 straight to the AFC. Ravens are 3-8 following a straight-up win of 14 points or more. Indianapolis is going under 21-5 following a double-digit home loss. Baltimore has gone under 33-16 after getting more than 250 yards passing in their previous game. This series has gone under 10 of 11. Vikings and Green Bay, again all ATS. Vikings 23-8 following a straight-up win. 37-18 following an ATS win. But the Nordic Explorers have dropped 7 of 10 on grass. Green Bay 39-18 after allowing more than 350 total yards in their past game. The 3-9 after allowing more than 30 points in their last game. The series has seen the home team covering 10 out of 14. Minnesota has gone under 34-16 after scoring more than 30 points in their previous game. Now your college football trends. Texas Tech and South Florida. Texas Tech is 10-2 after getting less than 100 yards rushing in their last game, 16-6 on field turf, but 2-7 in the bowls. South Florida 7-8 after allowing more than 40 points in their previous game. The Bulls of USF are 7-1 after accumulating more than 450 total yards in their last game. And again, now San Diego State and Army. San Diego State 17-4 after allowing less than 100 yards passing in their last game. 33-16 following a straight-up win, but they're 5-11 outside the conference. Army 8-20 following a spread victory. App State and Toledo. App State is 5-1 after allowing less than 20 points in their last game. Toledo 16-4 after accumulating more than 200 yards rushing in their last game, and they are 6-2 on field turf. Follow us everywhere on the social media. We are at Offshore Insider on Twitter, no S at the end. Facebook, Offshore Insiders Picks. Look for offshoreinsiders.com picks. YouTube, you probably should know. There's a good chance you're watching this on YouTube, although we're on a lot of other sources. If you're listening to us on one of the podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. That'll really help us out. Periscope, subscribe to us there. Subscribe to us on Facebook. And again, if you really like us, literally like us, or in the case of Periscope, they call them hearts, offshoreinsiders.com is the place to go for the best sports picks and vetted sports books.